Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another live stream. I hope you're doing fantastic out there as always. We are now live from the northern part of Sweden where I am doing my vacation. Can you all see me? Just write a little yes if you can. I am using a much better internet connection this time, so it should not be any kind of problems. If you do encounter any problems, if you see that there is any bugs or that the picture get frozen or anything, then just wait a couple of seconds and I will try to sort it out. Also, I have pretty much all my family, which includes about 5 kids around here, so you might see or hear them pop up during the live stream, but I hope that's okay, because basically that's the only way that we can get this done today. So, just some ground rules, guys. I will be, as always, prioritizing questions that is coming in from the Mentour Aviation app. And if you haven't got it already, it's this little icon here. It's completely free, and in there is a chat function. And if you just put a alpha and Mentour, that will send me a push notification that will pop up as a question for me. So you can use that completely free. And also the questions that are coming in from the super chat. As always, I will always strive to answer all of the questions that comes in through the super chat. And then on top of that, obviously, I will be taking questions from all of you guys who are here in the chat. How are you all doing, guys? I am doing absolutely great. I have done 1 week out of my 2-week vacation now, which I've spent up here in Sweden. And I will be traveling back through Stockholm Skavsta tomorrow, flying back to Barcelona, and then I will be 1 week with my wife in Playa, where we will be fixing and doing stuff with our apartment that we have there. So let's see if there's any questions coming up in the super chat. We do have some questions coming up in the Mentour Aviation chat, so I'll start with those. Mentor, when did you last fly? Well, I flew last week. Well, actually, it was almost 2 weeks ago now, because I was in the simulator before. And so that makes it about 2 weeks, and I won't be flying for almost a month, because I'm going straight back into the simulator again when I'm coming back from my vacation. Now, guys, I'm seeing that the stream health is not great. Just to confirm by writing yes that you can still see and hear me, all right? Right, I continue with answering some questions here from the Mentor Aviation chat. What do you think about the Emirates Flight Academy? Well, that's a good question. I don't really know much about the Emirates Flight Academy, to be perfectly honest. I believe that is a flight academy that is connected to Emirates Airlines, and I think it's only open for people who are actually Emirati, but I might be wrong there. So just, I am assuming that anything that has to do with Emirates as a training organization is probably absolutely excellent. Emirates is a very good airline. They have an outstanding training facility. So anything that has to do with that, I'm assuming to be good, but I don't have any personal experience with them. Right, cool. More questions. So, what happened to MH17? Yeah, no, I won't be able to answer that one, unfortunately. And basically, it's a good question, actually. It's a good thing that you brought it up, because I will very, very rarely comment on investigations that are still ongoing, all right? Incidents and accidents that have happened that doesn't have a closed accident investigation attached to them, it's not really my place to go out and speculate about what happened, because there's so many. First of all, you can never rely on the media coverage when it comes to these things, because the media is not informed, and they will only kind of speculate and get parts of whatever information is available, and then they will make a story out of that, and it might not be true at all. So we professional pilots are always very, very careful with talking about incidents that hasn't been concluded, that hasn't been fully investigated. All right. Right, which flight bag do you prefer? Well, I did a video on that, so I'm hoping that you guys had a chance to check that out. I am using a Samsonite bag at the moment. It doesn't mean that Samsonite is the only manufacturer that makes good flight bags, but I'm very happy with it because it's very thought through, and it has a almost perfect design and size for the 737, which I'm flying. Right, there's more questions about flight schools here. On a general note, I am reluctant to talk about flight schools that I haven't been visiting myself. You know, I am getting invitations now from flight schools that want me to come and check them out and stuff, and I will probably do that going up. You can expect to see more episodes where I might be checking maybe a flight school up or training organization or whatever. But without me having done that, it wouldn't be professional of me to say that this flight school is better than that flight school or whatever. The only ones that I can actually talk about are the flight schools that I've been a student of myself, and that's only Scandinavian Aviation Academy, which I fully endorse because I was very happy with the kind of training that I received from them. What sunglasses do you use? I use Ray-Bans. All right, I like the Ray-Ban frame. When it comes to sunglasses, the thing that you have to think about is make sure that they're not polarized. Okay, in my case, since I'm using glasses, I need to have special sunglasses made for me. But they cannot be polarized, because if you have polarized glasses, you will see changes in color on the screens. You might see lines appearing and things that will make it hard to interpret the information on the EFIS screens, right? So you cannot have polarized sunglasses. On top of that, just take some sunglasses that fit snugly here, because you're probably going to have a headset on. When you have a headset on, it's going to squeeze onto the frames. So if you have very thick frames, that might squeeze and it might start hurting after a few hours. And you can expect to wear the glasses for a good few hours. All right. Retirement age for pilots. Well, that has been going forth and back a little bit. So at the moment in Europe, it's 65 years. It used to be 60 years as a captain and 65 years as a first officer, but now I believe that it's been pushed up to 65 years all over. And it might be different in other countries as well. More questions. I'll take some from the Mentour Aviation app here. Mentor, is it important to speak different languages, and will that give you more chances to get a job? Yeah, it's not as important as you might think it is. Okay, it is extremely important that you speak English very well. All right, that's going to be the same for all airlines that you are going to apply for. Then you are going to have to speak the native tongue of the country where the airline is based, or the airline has its head office. For the simple reason that that's normally the case. If you are working for Scandinavian airline system, you're going to have to speak either Norwegian, Swedish, or Danish, and English. If you're working for Ryanair, you're going to have to speak English. That's it. If you're working for Air France, it's likely you're going to have to speak French and English. Okay, you can see a pattern here. Now, having said that, it's never a bad thing that you speak a lot of languages. And it can be seen as something that points to your general intelligence and your ability to take up more information and stuff like that. But it's not going to be a requirement, and in most cases, since you're not going to be dealing directly with passengers more than doing your PAs and stuff, it's not going to have a huge impact on your job as such. Right, guys, I'm starting to get quite a few questions here now. Like I've said before, if you have a really important question that you want me to cover, then use the super chat function. We have no super chat function so far, but I am struggling to keep up with all of the questions as always. So use that, and also use it if you just want to support the channel. If you think that what I'm doing is something cool that you want me to continue with, then you can help the channel out by doing that as well. Mentor, is it possible to train to be a pilot when you're 14 years old? 14 is a little bit early. You can probably start working on your PPL, but you won't be able to lift it until you're at least 17 in some countries, 18 in most, which means that it doesn't really make much sense to start at that age. I would concentrate on that age on getting my school results up as high as possible, preparing, using the time to find out the exact flight school that you want to go to, and preparing for the day, when you can start doing the full course, and you can do it within a fairly short amount of time. So 14, what you can do is, I think there are things like the Air Cadets in the UK, or you can start taking up gliding, because you can lift a gliding license at 15. That will give you a good sense of how it is to work, just to fly, to get, handling the aerodynamics and understanding it and so on. So that's what I would suggest. I started building up towards this work or this occupation when I was 14 myself, but I didn't actually start my training until I was 17. What do you think about flight simulators? guessing that you're talking about flight simulators like FSX or Flight Sim, or some of these desktop flight simulators. And I've said this before: the flight sim simulators that you have on your desktop, they are great for. They're very real. They'll show you the cockpit. You will find your way around the cockpit in a very nice way. You will understand the systems and the system responses. However, it will not teach you how to fly. I know that some of my colleagues are using flight sims to brush up on procedural knowledge, and how to enter an NDB holding or a VOR holding or shoot an approach, just kind of the theoretical stuff behind, because it's easier to learn that way. So that way it's also good. But in order to actually learn to fly, you need a proper FMPT2, or like a home. I had a comment saying that you shouldn't be talking about flight simulators as games, because they're really, really advanced, some of them. And I agree. If you've built an entire FMPT2 in your home or your garage, and it's 99% accurate, then absolutely you'll be able to use it as a training device. But, and this is also something that's important to remember, even though it is, the device is good enough to train on, it doesn't mean that you, without proper training, like an instructor like myself, can learn the right things to do. You might be learning some things to do, but you are going to need proper information from probably an instructor to tell you when you're doing things right and why, and when you're doing things wrong and why. Otherwise, you'll be learning procedures that you think are okay. From what you can read, it's okay. You learn them, they go into your kind of backbone knowledge, and when it's time for you to go out and fly in the real world, maybe go do a type rating course, you will have to de-learn some of the things that you've learned because they weren't actually correct. And this is the only kind of caveat that I have from using flight simulators a lot, and that is that you can actually learn things that you're going to have to de-learn, and that can come up as an obstacle in your training, and we've seen this happening. All right. How old are you? Well, I will be turning 36 in September. The 22nd of September is my birthday. Remember that? Like Donald Trump would say. And that 36, so I'm pushing 40 soon. Right, more questions. Why is there missing windows on the Boeing 737? Great question. They're not actually missing. What you have is that in that place where the window should be on that side of the aircraft, it's actually the air risers. Okay, the air is coming down from the overhead panel and kind of into the cabin from above. Well, they're being fed from the engines. So the bleed air is being fed from the engines into the air conditioning packs. And then on that place where you see the windows missing, that's where the actual air canal is going up to feed the air into the cabin. Great question, by the way, and very, very observant of you. What are the qualifications needed to become a commercial pilot? Well, I have been talking about this. I actually have a whole playlist with different, explaining all the different licenses that you need. But in essence, in order to get a first officer job, you are going to need a commercial pilot license, a CPL. All right, you need a multi-engine rating, an MER or ME is called. You need to have a instrument rating so that you are allowed to fly in instrument conditions where you cannot look outside. You are going to need an MCC course, which is a multi-crew cooperation course, okay, where you learn not to only fly by yourself, but to work in a multi-crew environment, which does take a little bit of practice, and it's probably the most fun that you'll have during your training, by the way. So if you have that, if you have your CPL, IR, ME, and an MCC training, you will be able to start applying for jobs. All right. On top of that, there's something called jet orientation courses that are becoming more and more common as well. They're not a requirement, but they might be good if you've done your MCC course on maybe like a propeller aircraft, a twin engine propeller aircraft, because the way that jet engines handles are a little bit different, a little bit slower to get the thrust coming, stuff like that. And the jet orientation course is just what it sounds like. It's a way to learn how to fly a jet aircraft. Right, so that hopefully that answers your question of that. Do you use ForeFlight? And if you do, how useful is it? I've seen it around. I am not using it myself. It's possible that I might be doing something about ForeFlight in the future, but at the moment I don't want to talk too much about it. Sam, the Ryanair man on the Mentour Aviation app.
Get him off! Away!
Okay, so I introduced to you my family, all right? So that is what I have to live with on a regular basis. This is why I only come up here once in a while. Oh God, ooh. No one saw that. No, right? Good thing. I might be introducing them at some point or another. What were we talking about? I have absolutely no idea. Right, more. God damn it. Okay. Yeah, Squawk 7500, that's true. But as you can see, you know, when something unexpected happens, you don't have much time to actually put the Squawk code in, do you? Mentor, does height really matters to become a pilot? This is a question I'm getting very often, guys, about height requirements. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what the height requirements are, because I think that they are different depending on the aircraft type you're going to fly. You know, ballpark figures around 160 centimeters up to about 200 centimeters ish, but then they might go down a couple of centimeters, and they can definitely go up a couple of centimeters from that. So you know, those are ballpark figures, but you would have to, and this goes for pretty much everything, guys. If you're interested about what an airline require, the best thing is not to ask me. The best thing is to go into that particular airline, check on their website. They will have a recruitment button, you know, in there. Maybe you have to go into company info, and then you'll find recruitment. And when you look at recruitment, in there will be all of the requirements, everything from what kind of, if you need a degree, if you, what kind of you know, hours that you would be needing in order to apply for it, all of those things. All right. So so that's the best thing I can say. If you're really short or really tall, well then, you know, look at the airlines that you are hoping to get into. Check out their websites, and if you're really interested further than that, there will always be an email address. Just send them an email and ask, you know, is there a requirement for this and this and that? Normally, they might not always answer because they're really, really busy, but most of the times they will. Right, more questions here. So for some reason, so guys, there's there's loads of you on here now. Use the super chat if you have any really important question. How many total flight hours do you have? Well, I haven't totaled them down for a while now, but I think that there's around 10,000, yeah, probably a little bit more than 10,000 hours in my logbook at the moment. Where are you from? I'm from Sweden. This is where I am. This is where I sit. Were you ever a flight instructor? Well, that depends on what you need. I wasn't a flight instructor on small aircraft. Okay, I have only I'm only been an instructor on the 737 ever, but I have been a flight instructor and a line training captain on the 737 for over 10 years now. So that should count for something, I guess. Right, greetings from Canada. Really enjoy your channel. Thank you very much. I am so happy that all of you are here, and those of you guys who are in here and wants to support the channel, feel free to, whenever you see that I have a video that you might like or something, just put it into your playlists, or add it into suggested videos or something like that, because it really helps the channel to kind of grow up and multiply. And as you can see, I've been gaining quite a lot of viewers and users lately, and it's great to see. And I have all of you guys to thank for that. I'm really grateful for all of the help that I've been getting so far. And those of you who have been going in and doing translations, fantastic. I can't thank you enough. That really helps. It means that quite a few people who maybe not speak English that well would be able to view the videos as well and get something out of it. So good job to you. Thank you very much. 5 miles. And if you're flying sorry, 4 miles. There is a my internet connection at the moment, so just stand by. Just tell me, guys, if you can see me. You know, write yes as always. I am. Right. Guys, so once again, if you can see this now, because I can see that my video output is quite low. All right, guys, just write yes if you can see or hear me. Guys, there's so many questions coming out now. So let's see. I will be using the Mentour Aviation and the Super Chat now to take the rest coming questions, guys, because I won't be able to do this for the full hour this time, since you've already met my family and they will probably come and get me once again soon. So, so let's see. Let's see. It's weird. There's no Super Chat questions so far, which leads me to believe that there might be something wrong with my stream. Anyway, Mentor, ever since I've been watching your videos, I understand more about plane. Very good to hear. This is why I'm doing this. I'm trying to inform people. And I'm also, something that I really, really want to do is I want to focus a little bit more with people who are a little bit nervous of flying, you know, explaining things more. I know that you can't just tell people that it's not dangerous to fly. You have to explain what you do, and this is what I would like to do. I would like to explain like the process of what we're doing, as in, you know, when we get to the airport, what kind of paperwork do we do, how do we prepare, how do we brief the crew, when do we go out to the aircraft, how much time do we have, what do we do. And by the way, guys, if you want to see a detailed description of how we do a setup from a completely dark and cold aircraft up until we are taxiing, then if you get into the Mentour Aviation app and you get the playlist full setup, and so you have the Mentour Aviation app here, you can go in, you can go home, and here you have all of the videos and stuff, and here there's a full setup. Okay, you get there. I know it does cost a little bit of money, because it did cost me quite a lot of money to produce, but it's there, and it costs less than a hamburger to get. And that will give you through about an hour's description of how we do a full setup from an absolutely cold and dark. First video is a little bit grainy because it was so dark in the cockpit, but as soon as I get the lighting up on the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth video are good quality, and they should be available for basically all devices. Okay, if you have an Android device, you will be able to choose resolution depending on how old it is. Right, guys, did you make the app? Yes. Well, I didn't actually code the app. I did that together with an Indian company that coded the app for me, but I was the one that decided on what to do and why it was done. All right. When you're flying to different countries, do you have to talk to them in the native languages or with weather and stuff? No. And this is the beauty, and this is why you have to speak English so well, because English is the international aviation language. Okay, so you will be able to speak to all of the. I mean, I'm flying in the European Union now. But you fly within the European Union, you will be speaking English to all of the different countries, because that's what we've all agreed on, and that's what works. Is your wife blonde? No, she's a brunette. She's a Spanish brunette. If an airline doesn't have an open cadet position and you don't have enough money to enroll to a private school, what can I do next? Well, you are going to have to look at all the different airlines, all right? It's not just one airline out there. There's going to be plenty of airlines out there. So check that out. I mean, the money issue is always a big thing, and unfortunately there's no good answer to it. You are going to have to, if you're going to need to train without a lot of money, well, then you're going to have to do it the modular way, by, you know, saving up money, doing maybe a couple of lessons, saving up more money, doing more lessons. It's going to take you longer, but you'll still be able to do it with not that much money. I am interested in knowing why the chat comes up as yellow instead of the standard green. Guys, has anyone tried to do a super chat question and didn't come through? Just let me know, because it is unusual, and I'm using a different network this time, so there might be some differences that I'm not aware of. Is it allowed to take a GoPro on the plane and record the takeoff? Normally not. Normally there are restrictions on using the cameras inside of the cabin, because the cabin crew does not want to be filmed, and it's their right not to be filmed. Okay. In the cockpit, we are not allowed to record unless we have a pre-authorization from the chief pilot to do so, especially not during sterile phases of flight, because we are supposed to be concentrated on flying safely during sterile phases of flight. So the answer to that is no. All right. Right, so obviously the super chat is working, because we have our first super chat question here. Valerio Visgraneo. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Greatly appreciated. How does the CEFR language scale correlate with the aviation language proficiency language level? I am not familiar with the CEFR, but if it's a if it's a 6-degree scale, I would guess that they're probably correlating quite well. The number 1 to 3 are very low level knowledge, which is not sufficient for use within commercial aviation. You have to have a minimum of level 4 in order to be flying commercially within Europe, at least. Most of the people that we take in are at least level 5. Okay, level 4 tends to still have some problems with communicating, but it kind of works. Level 5 is perfectly usable aviation English, and level 6 is my level. Level 6 is basically native tongue, but in my case, it's not native tongue. It's just the way I've been taught over the years. So how it actually compares to this CEFR language scale, I'm not 100% sure. Sorry about that. Right. Pending's coming soon. Thank you very much. It's always great to hear nice words from you guys. I can't register an account in your app. All right, so the most common problems that people have when they're trying to register an account in the app is that they're using big letters, okay? You have to use only small letters, and if you have an email account that it doesn't recognize, then just try a different email account. You know, get a Gmail email or something like that. You're not going to get emails anywhere, but it's just a way to register an account. But use small, make sure you use small characters, because it only takes that in order to not have duplicate. Someone could be called Mentour with a big M, and someone could be called Mentour with a small m, and you would have the same person looking, you know, like the other. That's why it doesn't recognize anything else than small letters, right? So welcome to the app, welcome to the chat. It's great to have you here. Right, Sam the Reinerman, Mentor, sorry, what is VMR, weather, and the other one? Okay, so it's VMC or IMC. It stands for Visual Meteorological Conditions and Instrument Meteorological Conditions. You can just Google them to get the exact definitions of them, but to keep it simple, IMC conditions is when it's foggy outside or bad weather, rainy. It's generally less than 1,000 feet of cloud base and so on. Less than 4 kilometers of visibility as well. And the VMC is when it's a good weather. You know, nice weather flying day. So in a good weather flying day, we'll be able to take the gear down later, because you need to be stabilized at a later point, 500 feet. While in IMC, we want to be a little bit on the safe side, so we start configuring earlier, and we want to be stabilized by 1,000 feet. Okay. Farrell Julati, what is spoilers? Great question. All right. You might have landed with a commercial airliner, and you've seen that on landing there are spoilers, like big things coming up on the wings, exposing some holes in the wings. Right? Those are flight spoilers. Okay, and what they do is normally within flight, they're normally combined with control spoilers. Right, so in flight they're normally used to turn the aircraft. Okay. A little bit, and they do so by just spoiling a little bit of lift on one wing, which make that wing kind of run down, and you turn that way. All right, so it works like that. When they're used as lift spoilers is after landing or during a rejected takeoff, where they go up and they create a lot of drag, And they do that, and they also spoil the lift of the wing. So instead of producing lift, the wing is now not producing lift, which means that the entire weight of the aircraft falls down onto the wheels, and the wheels are much more effective when braking. And that's when they work as lift spoilers. They also use that partially during flight in order to use as speed brakes. Then they come up the same amount on each wing, and it slows the aircraft down. Have you ever prank called 1-to-1.5? No, I would never do something like that. And I've actually made a video specifically about not doing any kind of prank calling a 1-to-1.5. It's extremely childish, and I think that people who are doing that should be disciplined, basically. More questions. So guys, I'm not going to be able to do this for much longer. We've been doing it for half an hour now. So I'll take another couple of questions and then we'll call it a day. Craft Play Games, thank you very much for your submission onto the super chat. It's great to have you here. And here we've got Lucas saying hello.
Hello.
Playing Lego.
I want it.
Okay, just let Papa finish this, and I'll be with you soon. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right, so hey Mentor, I had a question. Why do the ground crew attach headphones during the pushback to the gear? Good question. So when we're doing a pushback, obviously we as pilots, we cannot see what's going on behind us because we can't see that way. So we have to rely on communication with a ground engine start controller who is looking behind the aircraft as we're pushing back to make sure that there are no obstacles. And they also monitor our engines. So we ask them for permission to start engine number 2, for example. Then they give that to us, there's nothing in the way, we start the engines, and if something would go wrong with that engine, they will communicate that with us immediately. They will say, okay, there's flames coming out of engine number 2, we'll be able to shut down the engine, basically, or depending on what he or she is saying. So their start controllers, and they're controlling, as you can see, there are safety measures built into pretty much every part of the flight. And those, the ground personnel who's doing this is an essential part of that. Are you interested in sponsoring any future cadet? No, I personally will not be sponsoring people, okay, because I don't have the financial means to do so, and it would be very weird to decide which one I was going to sponsor. So I will not be doing that. However, I am looking into possible solutions where you could have financial institutions that could sponsor cadets. In return, they would be able to get a certain amount of the pay that they're getting in during the first years. Basically like a bond scheme. At the moment, and it's not a James Bond, it's a bond scheme where the airlines are doing that at the moment, where they employ someone, they pay for their training, normally their type rating training, and then they take that back as a deduction of their salaries for the first 3 or 5 years. Now, you could do the same, providing that you have a financial institution backing it up, and providing that you have sufficient controls enforced to make sure that the people who are applying for this and are getting selected are the right stuff. All right, so that's what I'm looking into a possibility of doing. But I'm only talking about small ideas here. I do need some kind of financial institution backing this idea up. Right, guys, so I am going to leave it at that for now. I'll take one more question and then I will be heading off because we're going to some kind of playland with the kids. So, do oxygen masks actually drop automatically or do pilots have to manually deploy them? Yeah, they do. They do drop automatically. They drop automatically when the cabin reaches a specific altitude. So we get a warning that the cabin altitude goes above 10,000 feet. At 14,000 feet, it will actually drop down automatically. But we can deploy them as well. So as part of our memory items, if we have a rapid depressurization, we do deploy the oxygen masks. Okay? So it is but that's a backup. Normally at that point, they have already deployed. Right, guys, I want to say thank you to all of you who have been watching it. I want to ask you to, to follow me here. Of course, tell your friends about this. Subscribe on Instagram as well. I do have an Instagram account where I send out some nice pictures from my day-to-day work. And also, make sure to get the Mentour Aviation app and get in there. There's always some kind of discussion going on. Today we've been talking a lot about flight schools and which flight schools are good and what to think about and what to think about maybe saving money during flight training. There's loads of other pilots in there as well, flying Airbus.